Content: The Final Frontier. These are the voyages of the podcast Unlimited Content. Its continuing mission to explore strange new Star Trek episodes, to seek out new franchises and new sources of content, and to boldly go where no two brothers have gone before. We're your hosts, Sam and Jack, and this week we're talking about Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 13, The Trouble with Tribbles. Jack.
Sam.
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling good this week. I'm glad to be back here with our podcast where we get to talk about Star Trek, my favorite thing.
Like we always do.
Like we always do. It's my favorite. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am drinking my favorite drink, tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Excellent.
I'm talking with my brother. All is well. However, debt cripples us.
Oh God! Oh no!
What? How in this quadrant are we going to find the funds to pay our bills?
See, I wish we lived in a Star Trek-esque society where, you know, capitalism wasn't a thing anymore and we didn't have to worry about debts, but we do, unfortunately.
Right. Where we as a society have evolved beyond the need for currency.
Yes.
But alas, we're not there
unfortunately.
yet.
Nope, not yet. But luckily, until then, we do have a sponsor to stave us off, to keep us afloat. And this week's episode of Unlimited Content is brought to you by clouds. I feel like clouds are just like one of my favorite things about like going outside to go to work every day is looking at the sky and be like, what's the sky look like today? Because it's like every day it looks different. Some days it's overcast, some days it's like I like seeing all the different patterns of the clouds in the sky, and it's just a nice, like, surprising, fun, delightful little thing that you get to, you know, it's one of those little things. But I never get tired of, like, you know, seeing like the sunset with clouds, and clouds are good. Sam.
Yeah,
they also bring rain, which is nice.
They do.
Big fan of clouds.
Have you seen any good clouds lately? What kind of clouds have you seen?
Well, yesterday it was there was lots of clouds to the extent that it was overcast, which is maybe less pretty than like a, you know, nice wispy clouds on a partly cloudy day. But I do like a good overcast day because it's nice and cool, and there's no, like, you know, harsh like light and shadows. Everything's kind of very evenly lit, and it's just kind of relaxing and nice. That's kind of it
is nice.
Yeah. In terms of just like my mood, I feel like during the day, my ideal cloud cover is overcast and like cool out. But then, like, I like in the morning and the evening, I like, you know, big kind of like, I don't know, big. I don't know the words for the different kinds of clouds.
That's all good.
I know it when I see it.
I want descriptive language. I'm not looking for scientific language. Check.
I like big poofy clouds. I like a big, like, thunderhead, you know, one that's like just huge and you can tell how big it is. You know,
big old anvil shaped, like it's gonna eat you, kind of big.
Yes,
big cloud.
That like at the end of the day when like just before sunset and you've got like rays going through the clouds and it's nice.
That's the stuff.
It's good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when it's like the sky's kind of just like checkered with a lot of small clouds.
Yes, that's nice too.
I thought Toy Story clouds.
That's exactly that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, it's Toy Story clouds. Excellent. And you've got the kind where it's like kind of long, wispy ones.
Ooh,
like,
those are nice.
You know. Anyway, clouds. Thank you to our sponsor, The Concept of Clouds, for sponsoring this episode of Unlimited Content.
Indeed. Jack, what have you been up to?
I mean, I feel like I haven't been up to a whole lot of like I don't have a lot of news to share this week. You know, I did finish reading my first. Like, so I told you earlier this year that one of my goals this year is to read more books, and my intended like way of getting to that is by reading at least one book a month. I have not done that yet until now when I finally finished the first book. It's, it's something I need to get back into the habit of, and I'm just like, I'm getting used to it. But the fact that I've done one made me feel good, and I feel like I've got some more momentum now. So I finished reading Kingdom Come, which is the DC Comics Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Justice League thing, with art by Alex Ross, who does the very the painter,
the guy from the Marvels.
Yes, the guy who did Marvels, correct. I read it. It was very good. It's a very well written, fascinating story, and it's kind of like what's interesting is like what I didn't know about it going in is so I guess a brief recap of the premise. The premise of this is that it's kind of in the future of the DC Comics universe. So like Batman is all old, and Superman is graying a little bit in the hair, and Wonder Woman looks exactly the same because she's Wonder Woman.
She's wonderful.
But yes, she is wonderful. And it is a period where like basically most of the original superheroes of like the Justice League and stuff have all gone into retirement because for some unexplained reason everybody has gotten not everybody, but a lot of people have got superpowers, and there's kind of been an explosion of new heroes and stuff. But then at a certain point, like there's this big catastrophe, and a bunch of the new vigilantes and heroes decide that they are now okay with killing. And so Superman comes out of retirement, and he gets the Justice League back together to kind of fix things, and then it leads up to a big old battle. But one thing I didn't know about it going into it is that the story is told from the perspective of like a pastor, just like a regular guy who gets visited by he's a superhero, I think, but he's basically like the kind of Ghost of Christmas Future kind of figure almost. He gets visited by this guy and is like taken around to different places around the earth to like he's basically like I'm not doing a good job of describing this, and my brain is not working right now. And
it's all good.
Let's start over a little bit. So basically the comic is told from the perspective of this guy, this kind of like random sort of average like Christian pastor, and the kind of upcoming battle between these two factions of superheroes, these superpowered people, is framed as kind of like the coming of the stories of Revelation, basically coming true.
That's
and
cool.
So and so it's a really fascinating story about kind of like how we value life, and how do we live with one another, and what does true leadership look like? I don't know. It's very good. I'll say that. I feel like I'm not doing a great job at doing it justice, but it is very good, and I highly recommend it. So I did that. I've got a bunch of other books and things that I have on my list of stuff I want to read. I'll probably continue with comics for a bit, just to, again, get myself into the swing of reading before I jump into a dense novel or something. So that's that. And then the other thing, I guess, that is new is there was a sale on Steam this past week or two, the Steam Spring Sale, and they had a bunch of games on sale, and I got a handful of games, and one of them is a game called Lumines Remastered, and it's a rhythm-based puzzle game. It's kind of like a Tetris with like falling blocks and stuff, but it's all it's like set to music, and it's kind of time-based, so there's more of kind of a time limit on it, and it's very cool. It was originally a PSP game, and then it came back as a remastered version on all modern platforms, and so I got that, and I've been addicted to that for a while. In addition to that, I am slowly making my way through the original Final Fantasy VII, as I said, which, Sam...
Yeah.
I think this is a good time for us to transition to what you've been doing, because you've been playing some Final Fantasy VII as well, haven't you?
I did. I played about 2 hours worth of Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I blew up the big thing, beat the first boss, and then continued on. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I don't know. Maybe I just am not reading the dialogue like well enough or something, but I'm just like kind of confused as to like what it's also been like 2 weeks and I just played 2 hours in one sitting 2 weeks ago. I like it and I just haven't had time to pick it up again. I probably will after we hang up. But it's fun. The I don't know, like the combat mechanics are a little confusing to me. Is there a way to like dodge stuff in?
No,
because no. Okay,
no. So yeah, the way that
because is it like Pokemon but like a little more time based in terms of like the battling? Okay,
yes.
Because I was expecting like you ever play like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga?
Yes,
where like you can like jump out of the way of attacks, or like I was kind of expecting it to be like that. And not like Pokemon, and so I was like, why can't I jump? I know this is the jump button. Why won't it let me jump out of the way? And I was just like taking everything on the nose and was like, oh, this sucks. What's going on? But apparently you can't do that.
But, Final Fantasy VII is a pretty traditional like turn-based RPG situation. So yeah, it's just you take turns, doing different moves or attacks or whatever. You can heal and you can equip an armor to like protect yourself, and then there's some abilities you can unlock later that lets you like. You can have one character kind of jump in the way to protect another character. But yeah, there's no like dodging mechanics or anything. But so the thing that makes Final Fantasy VII different is what they call the active time battle system, which is basically just the only difference. It's like a turn-based game, except there's a little timer for each character that you play as, and you can only do a move. You can only like take your turn when the meter fills all the way up. And that's basically, it's just a way of making it like a little more like engaging and like you kind of have to, you can't just like pause in the middle of it. You have to kind of be on your toes and always be like, thinking ahead as opposed to like, just kind of wait, taking a long time to think about, okay, what's my next move? It's just, just the way they decided to do it for this game.
Yeah. Cause this is the first game I've ever played that's like that wasn't either like 100% just like, it waits until you click go to go, like on Pokemon, or like on other games where it's like turn-based, but Mario and Luigi, where you can like jump out of the way or like parry attacks or whatever. But so it's just, I guess it's just taking some getting used to. Also, I died before ever getting to a save point. I had to start the entire game over.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it's like, this is dumb.
Well, at least you got to watch the best opening to any video game ever again, basically. Like. God.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I just mean the opening like cutscene and everything for Final Fantasy VII is one of the most iconic openings to any game ever. It's beautiful. But yeah, no, it's I do understand the frustration of, oh cool, I didn't get to a save yet. Let's do everything again. Especially when you're like starting a game that you're not familiar with and it's like you're still kind of getting a handle on things. Yeah, that's frustrating.
Right. Yeah. So I did that. And that was like, I guess 2 weeks ago, but it was fun. Probably I'll play more of it. I'm gonna let it grow on me because I know it's good, and I want to give it a shot. I don't know. It just hasn't grown on me yet.
Yeah, I think that plot wise, I understand why it's difficult to follow, probably because it's like this game came from a time when English localization of Japanese games was not great yet. It was very it's very kind of like the dialogue is all very stilted and kind of like some things are translated in ways that don't quite make sense or that aren't as clear or as like engaging as they could be. So that's also understandable. Got it. So
I'm gonna do that. I will continue to play it. I will report back with further thoughts and feelings and opinions. So doing that, watching a couple new shows lately. Sarah and I started watching this show on FX called Shogun. Have you heard about Shogun?
I've not. No.
Okay, so it's like it takes place in like feudal Japan, like right when Europe is first encountering Japan, and so it's still kind of like this like really unknown like political powerhouse that like they don't know what's going on over there. And so right now the only people who like are allowed over there are like these like Jesuit Catholic missionaries and this like this merchant who's also maybe like a mercenary, like crashes on the shore of Japan and gets captured by like one of the most powerful people in Japan. So like what's happening right at this time is the Japanese emperor has died, and his heir is like 8 years old and is way too young to like rule. And so he, instead of like handing on the emperorness or whatever, like instead of handing on his throne to like a different a different like family line or something, he like there are like 5 like governors. That's not the right word, but there are 5 like, there's like a council of 5 governors who each are in charge of a different region of Japan, and he's entrusted one of these governors like basically conservatorship of his heir until he's of age to like become the emperor. But it's going to be like 10 years before that happens, and there's just like this really like tense like tug of war for power in this kind of like 10-year intermediate. And the Dutch like merchant, maybe mercenary guy, washes up on shore and is like captured by the family that is taking care of the heir of the emperor. And like he's like bringing them all this information that like the Catholic Jesuits haven't told them about, like basically like the English and like the Portuguese and like the Catholics have basically decided that they're going to like take over Japan and like, take over like commerce and all this stuff, and like they are going to like monopolize Japan and box everyone out, and they're saying this is our place to do business, no one else is allowed in. And the Japanese are like, wait, no, we are not somebody else's like pawn to be played with, like we make our own rules. And so they have this, the Dutch guy like is feeding them all this information, and there's just like big old political tug of war and stuff, and the action sequences are really good, and it's really fun. I don't know, it's like kind of like I don't know if like I mean it's like definitely like prestige level television kind of stuff. Like it's like really, really good. Like on par with like, I don't know if you ever watch like Vikings, which is a similar kind of show.
I'm aware of it, but I haven't seen it now.
Okay, it gives me similar vibes to Vikings.
It sounds super cool.
It's very, very cool. It's on Hulu, which is where we're watching it.
Yeah,
so
I'm
you should have
right
access
now.
to that. Yeah. So watching that's really fun. I started.
Have you?
Sorry.
Have you ever watched? No, you're good. Have you ever watched Bill Wirt's History of Japan?
Yes. Yes. He's the guy who also did like the History of the World or whatever.
Yes.
And and like that kind of like sing-songy like kind of like shitpost meme, but like a masterpiece kind of thing. Like
Exactly,
it's like fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like this is like intentionally garbage, but like it's like gone beyond garbage into this is a masterpiece. Like
yes, it feels, it has the aesthetic of something that's garbage, but it is done so well and with such like care and meticulous attention to detail that it's like it's incredible. But that reminded me of that because you were describing the thing about the governors, and I was like, oh, I think I know about that from Bill Wirtz's The History of Japan. It sounds familiar.
Yeah,
so that's great.
I'm gonna go back. Good. I love it. It's very good. Very, very good. So yeah, watching that. I have also, Sarah's out of town right now, and so I can't watch Shogun with her, and so I've been watching The Boys on Amazon Prime.
The
Boys. It's very dark, and she would not like it at all, and I kind of like it. It's also like kind of a downer, but like it's like I can't take my eyes away from the train wreck kind of downer.
Yeah,
you know.
My understanding, I know this is a very like well received, acclaimed show. Based on what I know about it, I have not watched it just because I also think it would be maybe too much of a downer for me. But my understanding of the premise is that it's kind of like, what if Superman was evil? It's like a world of superheroes, but the superheroes are bad or something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a world of superheroes. The superheroes are bad. turns out the superheroes are all spoilers for season 1 of The Boys. Turns out that all of the superheroes are made, not born. So like it's this, and it's the company that like sponsors like the main superhero group called the Seven, which is kind of like their Avengers or Justice League or whatever. Like it's basically like they kidnap babies and then inject them with like this like super soldier serum called Compound V. Yeah, and delicious. That unlocks superpowers in them, and then like, but it's also like tied in with like just like American nationalism and Christian nationalism, and like there's like a cult leader who like, that's how they like find kids to recruit, is through like Bible Jesus camps. They're like super right wing and like,
oh jeez, wow.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like it's nuts. It's like meant to be kind of a commentary on like white supremacy and Christian nationalism, and like also like a satire of superheroes, all kind of like tied into one. And so it's like really fascinating to watch, but also like sucks.
It's too much like reality. It's yeah. So I can only like watch it in small doses. So like I'll like go like a week watching like an episode or 2 a night, and then like have to turn it off. I'm like, I can't do any more of this right now. So now that Sarah's out of town on her cousin's bachelorette party, and so I'm like, I have most nights to myself, so this is what I'm gonna do. And so I'm doing that. I started, all right, and then another thing that I started but might not finish, which is a pattern of mine. Listen, I get it. I'm there too.
Yeah. So like 2 years ago, I got on the wait list to listen to the free audiobook on the Libby app for The Man in the High Castle, like the Philip K. Dick novel that was also, I think, an Amazon series or something.
Yes. Yeah. I think so.
It's one of Dad's favorite books. And so I started listening to it yesterday.
It's like an alternate reality where the Nazis won World War II or something, right? That's the
right, yeah. And basically the Nazis and the Japanese, like the Nazis conquered the eastern United States, the Japanese conquered the West, and the Rockies is kind of no man's land. And I listened to the first quarter of the audiobook and had a hard time following it, so I might not finish it.
Gotcha. I've heard the show was good.
Yeah, so I might just do the show too, which is how I feel about Dune. Is the book is hard to read, but I want to watch the movie, so there's a lot of that going on. But the thing that I am watching right now and am very excited about, and it is the like one of the most exciting new things that I've like found that I'm like, this is incredible. It's a masterpiece. X-Men 97.
Yeah, it's really good.
So good. It's so stinking good. So it's like literally like the 90s X-Men shows, the ones that started in like 1992 and stopped in 96. Like it's just more seasons of that.
It's just a continuation. Yeah.
They're just continuing the exact same show. But like with a Disney Plus budget instead of like a Marvel Studios in the 90s budget.
Yeah, instead of it's very much a children's television in the 90s.
Yes, very much. This is just this is Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah, no, now it's Disney Plus, and that's cool. It's very good. I was actually thinking while watching it that like I want to go back and watch like the old X-Men things, because we used to have a couple VHSs of the X-Men.
I do remember that
things. So it was like the first like I think we had maybe the first half of the first season on VHS. Because like I know I always watch like I remember like because like the series premiere is like the X-Men saving Jubilee from like the shopping mall or something when like Sentinels are coming to chase Jubilee. And I remember watching that episode a handful of times, and that's that. And so like X-Men 97 kind of starts off with a similar kind of thing. There's another new mutant in town and he's getting hunted instead of Sentinels, because the Sentinels are technically gone right now. By the Friends of Humanity, which is just like a thinly veiled Ku Klux Klan trying to get rid of mutants.
Yeah, I was like, that sounds like like too nice of a name for it to actually be a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's the Clan, but against mutants. So
yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a good show, and I'm sucked in. But I was thinking, like, this would be, if we ever reach the end of the unlimitedness of our content.
Oh, well, the Star Trek we're watching.
All the Star Trek, definitely just Star Trek. X-Men would be a good, like, watching the X-Men animated series would be awesome. I would very much enjoy doing that.
That would be cool. Yeah, or just like, I mean, this would be another massive, like, similarly unlimited amount of content, but just like Marvel stuff in general. Like, I don't know how we would do that.
Because I think, yeah, like just the MCU, including like all the old stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
or we could
theoretically
also
possible.
like, yeah, we could do that. We could do DC, which is another can of worms. There's, yeah.
A buddy of mine from high school did a podcast like we have, but with Batman the Animated Series and Justice League.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That whole universe. That's cool. Yeah. It's like, yeah, Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited. I think Batman Beyond is still part of that universe too. Yeah, there's all those.
I think it's a Disney feature, but yeah.
That reminds me of a show that I've been wanting to get back into, because I think I'm a couple seasons behind at this point. But have you watched any of the Harley Quinn show on HBO / Max?
I don't have access to HBO / Max, but it looks good.
Okay, cool. I can probably give you the login and stuff. But yeah, it's super well written and funny. It's like a kind of a very self-aware, like kind of adult comedy take on the DC universe, but from the perspective specifically of Harley Quinn and a bunch of other like supervillains or like B-tier villains oftentimes. But it's a very well written show, and it's super funny. And I've watched the first couple seasons and loved it, and I've been meaning to get back into it because I think there have since been 2 more seasons that I have not watched.
Got it.
But that reminded me of that. So definitely want to get back to that.
Sweet.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, man.
X-Men 97 looks and sounds super cool. I love the idea of it.
So good. You would love it.
The more that I hear from you about it, the more I'm like, yeah, no, I definitely need to watch this.
It like the Week and a Half Out still has like 100% Rotten Tomatoes. Like it's so
cool.
good. Yeah, like the series. So like at the end of the original series, like Professor X dies in the last episode.
Yeah,
and so this is kind of like it starts kind of in the aftermath of Professor X being dead. Like you see Cyclops and Jean Grey walk into Professor X's office, and like his death certificate sitting on his desk, and like they're kind of like just dealing with that, and then then Magneto shows up with a copy of Professor X's will, and Professor X has written in his will that that like his entire X-Men Academy he left to Magneto.
Huh. That sounds
because they were like no, because they were like throughout the entire series, like he was always like just trying, like Professor X loves Magneto, and like they're like estranged friends. Like they both want the good for mutants, but Professor X like wants mutants to coexist with humanity, and Magneto's like, we're better than humanity, we don't need them. Like I just want to like and so Professor X is always trying to win Magneto over to his side of the argument. And so we see Magneto kind of start to try to do things the X-Men way.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
But still, like, I don't know, like one of the best scenes is in towards the end of the second episode where he like, I don't know, like we see like he's like like Magneto is on trial at the UN. Like for like his crimes against humanity, and like something like big and traumatic happens while it's all happening, and he like kind of blows his lid a little bit, and like takes like the people who are like sitting in like the judges seats on like there, he like levitates their whole like podium setup and like takes them up like way into the atmosphere, so like you can see like the curvature of the earth and stuff. He's like like you like I'm trying to be a good guy. You don't want me to be a bad guy. Like, he's like, I could crush you if I wanted to. You don't want me to, like, you don't want to push me over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends with them pardoning him. Because of course they did.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you got it. All right.
No problem, Magneto Man. Yeah.
Because there was also like, I'll just let you watch it. Never mind. I'm going to stop talking. I could talk about
Yeah.
See, this is why I think X-Men 97 would be a great show for us to do another podcast on, because I could talk about. I've only watched 2 episodes of this, and I could already talk for like 3 hours about this because it's so good.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
I definitely want to watch this, and I've always loved X-Men as a franchise just because of how much like I guess similar to like Star Trek, for example. There's a lot of like really thoughtful ideas and concepts and kind of, you know, things that are grappled with, you know, in the X-Men universe that just make for really interesting, fascinating stories. And I like the fact that the X-Men universe can kind of stand on its own, separate from the Marvel universe, which I think is part of what makes it so cool. I like the idea of a universe where like there are superheroes, but there's like a specific explanation for why people have superpowers, and it's just not just like a bunch of one-off like, oh, this person's magic and this person's an alien and this person got struck by lightning or whatever. You know, it's like, you know, there's a reason for it, and there, you know, and obviously X-Men from the very beginning has been all about like social commentary and social justice and discrimination.
It's like an allegory for like the civil rights movement and a lot of other stuff. Yeah.
So it's a really fascinating universe and set of stories and characters, and I really want to get into like reading some X-Men comics at some point, because I haven't read a ton of X-Men.
Me too.
Before, and what little X-Men stuff I've kind of been exposed to. I've watched a lot of the movies, obviously, and I think I watched some X-Men Unlimited growing up, or X-Men Evolution, rather. X-Men Evolution, which was like the animated series that came out after the live action movies started coming out. So it was kind of like a more modern-ish, like, you know, modern for the 2000s take on the X-Men in animated form. Whereas the original X-Men animated series was more like based pretty explicitly on the original comics, you know? But yeah, I love the X-Men universe. I want to jump onto that. It sounds really cool. That's rad.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if we must have talked about it at one point. The trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine. That looks fun. That's gonna be great.
That looks so fun. It looks so fun. I'm so excited about it. I hope that actually brings in X-Men into the MCU so that we actually get to see it. Like, I want to know what they're gonna do with the X-Men. Because they clearly have like some sort of plan for the X-Men to be involved somehow in the future of Marvel, because 1, it'd be stupid to not do, but 2, X-Men 97 is so good, you can't not build on that momentum. Like, it's the best thing Marvel has going right now, I think.
Cool. That's rad. Yeah. I'd be really interested to see what kind of the MCU take on the X-Men is, because we've stuck with basically the same X-Men universe since, like, you know, 2002 or whenever the first X-Men.
It was 2000. I think it was before 9/11. It was like a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. And we've had like that universe or some variation of it for, you know, the last 20 plus years at this point. And the movies have definitely been very like hit or miss. Like the first 2 movies are both considered to be pretty great. Third one was not great. X-Men Origins Wolverine was not great. The Wolverine was pretty good. Logan was excellent, obviously. X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past were both really good, but I heard not so great things about X-Men Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, which were kind of the last
those
2
are both trash,
ones. Yeah, so it's definitely a franchise that's very like all over the place, and I'm excited and interested to see like what would a new take on these characters be, because we've had the same, as much as I love Hugh Jackman, obviously, like we've had the same Wolverine for over 2 decades in live action, and I'm just interested to see like what would a new version of these characters in this universe look like, and also, you know, what would it look like integrated into the larger MCU, you know, because we've never had like we've never had X-Men movies that, you know, really like stretch into the rest of the Marvel universe. It's always been pretty standalone, so
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there are rumors. I mean, I heard it on Twitter, so it's got to be true. There are rumors that Henry Cavill is going to be in the Deadpool and Wolverine movie as a Wolverine variant.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
So maybe they're going to reboot X-Men around Henry Cavill as Wolverine.
That'd be cool, but also I feel like people's like the one consistent, like, I guess not really complaint, but kind of note people had about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is that he's too tall, because Wolverine's supposed to be short.
True. He is.
and Henry Cavill is also a tall man.
Wolverine's like my height, and Henry Cavill is like over 6 foot.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I think he'd probably make a great Wolverine. I love Henry Cavill, but like, also I feel like he would maybe I feel like he would maybe make a better Cyclops to me.
He would be a better Cyclops, I think.
Yeah,
what if he's Cyclops? That would be so good.
That would be cool.
That'd be very, very good.
So yeah, since he's done now with with Superman, because they're moving on from the Snyderverse.
So I mean, I'm all for moving on from Zack Snyder, but like, well, it's not like, but the other stuff. Come on, like, I don't know.
What
the first Henry Cavill's first Superman movie was phenomenal.
Oh,
I don't want to move on from that.
I generally really liked Man of Steel. I thought Henry Cavill was great as Superman. He was a great Superman. I think that like that Batman v Superman and Justice League kind of wasted him.
Yes.
And you know, it's because he was really great casting, and it was just I have my issues with Man of Steel also, but like generally I thought it was really, really great. It's what a mixed bag of a universe that was. It was rough, but I'm excited to see whatever the next like James Gunn's DC films are going to look like, because he's the head of DC now, and that's good. They're working on the.
That's a good idea. Not Zack Snyder, but James Gunn. That's a good idea.
James Gunn seems to know what he's doing most of the time, so that's cool. Yeah. I still need to watch the Suicide Squad, because I've heard that's good. I've heard
it's good too.
James Gunn's Suicide Squad. That's a sort of sequel to the original Suicide Squad that nobody liked. Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm excited to see what happens with the DC universe, and you just like hearing about all the different things James Gunn has cited as being inspiration for his new Superman movie. Like All-Star Superman is one of his inspirations, which is a great comic.
I know. I haven't read very many Superman comics, but I've read All-Star Superman, and it is it's one of the most heartfelt comics I've ever read.
It's excellent. Yeah. For those that don't know, All-Star Superman is it was like a limited run series. There's like a 2-volume thing. So maybe like a dozen comics or something. But the premise is that like Superman, it's like late in Superman's career, and he is dying because he was like basically went too close to the sun, and Superman has cancer now, essentially, and it got him in his like final days, and kind of learning to figuring out what to do with his final days before he dies. Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, but it also like it leans into like the idea that like the original idea of Superman was that Superman was like supposed to be like the best of humanity, like but with superpowers. So like the like basically like the best person you can imagine, but also has Superman's powers. And so like it was just very much like the most loving, genuine, sincere, like what you would want Superman to be, like as wholesome as Superman can be without like watering him down.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's very sincere, very genuine. It definitely feels like a love letter to Superman and to that kind of idealized, like, it's Superman at his best, I think. Yeah, not that there aren't like valid other interpretations of this character, but like I think generally the thing that people love the most about Superman, or that like has made him such an enduring character, is the fact that he's he's the best of us. It's kind of a similar thing about like Spider-Man's like with great power comes great responsibility. What makes Spider-Man such a great character is that he has all this power and he chooses to use it for good, and Superman is kind of the platonic ideal of that, basically. So agreed.
Yep.
All right, well, was there anything else you wanted to talk about before we get into our main segment, Sam?
No, is there anything new in Star Trek news? Anything new in Star Trek news?
I don't know. I've been off the Star Trek internet for a bit. I've been out of it, so maybe. But at the moment, I've been busy with reading comics and other things.
Yeah.
So,
any other franchises with news that you want to talk about?
I mean, I know this is a little bit like out of character for us, but I have been looking a little bit more at Star Wars recently, and there's a thing. Oh. There's like I don't know if I know we don't talk about Star Wars much, but I feel like
we don't.
Yeah, it's out of character for this podcast where we talk exclusively about Star Trek most of the time because we're such big fans of Star Trek. But I feel like, I don't know, there was this new trailer that came out this week for a Star Wars show that looks really cool, and I thought maybe we could talk about that because that looks fun.
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do it.
Yeah. So there's this show coming out called The Acolyte, and they released the first trailer for it this past week, and it looks really cool. It takes place in the High Republic era, which is like 100 years or so before Phantom Menace, I think. And it's got Carrie-Anne Moss as a Jedi doing cool kung fu stuff. And
that did look cool. Like watching it, I kind of did a double take. I was like, oh, it's Trinity from from the Matrix.
Trinity was a Jedi this whole time.
Whoa, yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah. She's very Jedi. But yeah, the trailer looked really, really good. There was that one shot near the end with all the Jedi taking out their lightsabers and like rushing towards this mysterious figure who had a red lightsaber, and then they all get blasted back, and it's super cool and exciting, and I'm very happy, very excited. What do you think about the trailer, Sam? What are your feelings about the Acolyte right now?
I know close to nothing about it, but I am very excited about. Like, it looks really good. And I think I read something from like an interview that the creator of the Acolyte did with StarWars.com, and it was kind of like, she said that if Star Wars is always about like the individual versus the institution, or like the underdog versus the institution kind of thing, that in the Acolyte, the Jedi are the institution. So it kind of puts the whole trope of the Jedi, like, it kind of like flips it on its head, and like it allows us to kind of like look at like what, like, the blindness of the Jedi that led to Palpatine taking over, because like I saw a lot of like people who lack basic media literacy online being like, but in episode 1 they said that the Sith have been extinct for 1,000 years, blah 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 blah. I'm like, but that's the point. They assumed the Sith were extinct, but clearly they were not. So
either they assumed it, or like they knew about it and everybody who knew about it died, or I think what is more likely is that they just ignorance. They were ignorant of it, or they intentionally covered it up because they didn't want to think about it.
Right, and just too proud to admit that like there was still something out there, and that led to the rise of the Empire. Oops.
But I get the feeling that like I get the feeling that like the Acolyte is going to largely be about kind of, we're going to see the Jedi at the height of their power, and like in their golden age, but at the very beginning of their kind of downfall, the kind of falling into the era of kind of corruption, ignorance, and blindness, and like you said, how it leads to eventually the Empire and the fall of the Jedi Order and everything. So I'm really excited to see like this. I'd see a different. This is the first time we've seen anything in live action that is outside the span of the Skywalker Saga. So that's exciting in and of itself.
Oh yeah.
Every other live action thing has been within episodes 1 through 9. So this is our first time seeing anything outside of that. It's our first time seeing anything in live action that's like prequels, which I guess is the same thing. I just restated the thing.
Does this mean does this mean the Acolyte is a prequel era thing? Is the Acolyte a prequel?
Obviously it is technically a prequel, but it's like, I think we have to redefine what, I think the prequel era means episodes 1, 2, and 3 now.
Yeah,
and
I know.
So
I know.
You're just being ornery. You're just being a butt.
just love the prequels so much and want to give the prequels as much credit as possible, even if it's unjustified.
Yeah. We could call Andor a prequel, too. We could say Andor's part of the prequels, because it's prior to the original trilogy.
I do call I call Rogue One a prequel.
Yeah, but it is
literally
it is the last possible prequel. Yeah.
Everything before the opening crawl of episode 4 is a prequel.
Yeah, the only thing that's left is like the 3 minutes between the end of Rogue One and the beginning of A New Hope, basically.
I want to see that 3 minutes of just like how pissed Vader was. Like, what did he break in between like the Tantive 4 escaping and them catching back up with the Tantive 4? Like, what console did he smash, force crush, slash the lightsaber? I like to imagine
that 3 minutes is just Vader goes back to his bedroom and just smashes everything with a lightsaber and yells a bunch, and then he comes out. He's like, "Okay, calm," and then he goes like, "Okay," and then he goes onto the Tantive 4 and immediately chokes somebody. Yeah, that's where he gets it from.
That's where Kylo gets it from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the what he started that Kylo was going to finish.
It's more smashing.
Yeah, it's just breaking
tantrum.
Things.
Yeah,
tantrums and breaking things. That's all he did.
Tantrums lead to the dark side.
Yep. Any other? Since we're talking about Star Wars, is there any other Star Wars news?
I guess.
Oh,
you had a thing.
I did remember. So this year for May the 4th, they have announced that they'll be running marathons of all 9 movies in theaters.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Which is awesome. Terrifying. I can't imagine how those theaters will smell at the end of that.
Yeah,
that's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I want to look into that just to see what like the
right.
If I could see like
I would do a single trilogy marathon.
Yeah,
like that's about as much as I'd want to do. Like I'd go watch prequels in theaters, like back to back to back. That'd be fine. But like anything more than that sounds awful.
Yeah, if I could choose one, I would want to watch Revenge of the Sith in theaters. I think that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although pod racing would be fun.
True. I feel like I've watched Phantom Menace relatively recently because of the podcast, so I feel like I would rather,
Actually, I don't know. I've never seen the original trilogy in theaters.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I would do that, I think.
That'd be rad.
Just because I've never seen it. Because I've seen all the other ones in theaters. I've just never seen 4, 5, and 6.
I'm trying to think of... I might have... I know I've seen Empire in theaters. I remember watching Empire once. But I'm not sure if I've seen episode 4 or episode 6 in the theater before. So, yeah, that would absolutely be another option. I would love that. So, yeah, I need to look into that, see what the options are. Because if possible, that'd be... I would take off on a Friday if I needed to go to a Star Wars marathon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's worth a vacation day for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, I guess that's kind of it for our initial things. Sam, are you ready to get into our main segment where we talk about a Star Trek?
I am.
Cool. All right.
I am. So this week we are watching Star Trek, the original series, Season 2, Episode 13, The Trouble with Tribbles. And in the timeline, this takes place in the year 2268.
Yes.
It's terrifying to think that we are only 240 years away from Tribbles. That's scary.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Yep. And we're less than 9 months away from the Irish reunification of 2024. That has to happen in the next 9 months.
They'll figure it out, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with the British monarchy kind of like collapsing, I mean, it's more possible now than ever.
True.
Anyway, enough about that.
All right, we want to get into our plot summary?
Yeah. Great. So, The USS Enterprise is en route to Deep Space Station K7 for assistance with an important assignment regarding a disputed planet. 1 parsec from the nearest Klingon outpost, close enough to smell them, as Chekhov puts it. The post is near Sherman's planet, which is claimed by both sides.
What a name, by the way. Just a planet. I know. It's Sherman's planet.
Yeah. They couldn't have come up with like a better name for it. It's just like, that threw me off the entire episode. It's just like, why doesn't it have like a sci-fi-ish name? This just sounds like
Sherman's planet.
Sherman's planet. It sounds like an old Western like outpost. Like
it does.
Yeah. A one horse, like a one little old main drag kind of town,
sort of.
Yeah, that kind of thing. All right. So, in the Enterprise's briefing room, Captain James T. Kirk, Commander Spock, and Ensign Pavel Chekhov review the area's history. 23 years after the inconclusive Battle of Donatau 5, the Orangian Peace Treaty is set to grant control of Sherman's planet to the party that can demonstrate it can develop the planet's resources most efficiently. Lieutenant Uhura reports from the bridge that K7 has issued a Code 1 alert, which signals that it's under attack. Kirk orders a speed increase to warp factor 6, while Uhura initiates the red alert. The Enterprise arrives at maximum warp, ready for a fight, only to find no battle. Beaming over with Spock, Kirk demands an explanation from Station Manager Lurie, but he is told he was ordered to do so by Niels Barris, a Federation undersecretary in charge of the Sherman's Planet Development Project. Niels Barris is dumb. This is so this guy, it was so infuriating.
He's just the worst sort of bureaucrat.
Yes, he's just like, my little pet project is the most important thing in the entire galaxy, and therefore I am going to raise the highest alarm I can for what we will see is, I mean, definitely
the grain.
Definitely super important quadritriticalian. Come on. All right. Anyway. So, Barris and his aide, Arn Davrin, fear that the Klingons might try to sabotage the Federation's best hope to win control of the planet, a high-yield grain known as quadritriticalian, the only Earth grain that will grow on the planet. Tons of the grain are stored at the station, and Barris demands from Kirk security and protection. Kirk still believes they have misused the Priority 1 designation, but assigns only 2 guards to the station and allows shore leave for the Enterprise crew. So dumb. Anyway, on leave, Uhura and Chekhov meet a dealer named Cyrano Jones. This guy is hilarious.
Jones, here he is.
Cyrano Jones. Yeah.
This guy.
Walking cargo shorts, man. Cyrano Jones.
He totally is.
Yep. Who is trying to wholesale to the skeptical bartender various rare galactic items. Among them, spicy and flame gems and furry little creatures that Jones calls Tribbles. While they bicker over the price, Chekhov notices a Tribble has eaten quadritriticalian sample left on the bar, and Uhura is enchanted by it. Jones gives the Tribble to Uhura, a move the bartender claims will ruin the market, but Jones claims that it will help spur more sales. Back on the Enterprise, Kirk receives an order from Starfleet Admiral Fitzpatrick to render any and or all aid that Barris may require. The Admiral informs Kirk of the safety of the grain as well as the project is the captain's responsibility. Kirk is exasperated and just then learns from Uhura that a Klingon battlecruiser arrived within 100 kilometers of K7, which, I guess in space it's pretty close, but 100 kilometers, that's like 60 miles.
Yeah. But I get, it's space, I guess. They go fast in space.
They do. I'm they're an hour's drive away. Okay, cool. Anyway. Kirk is exasperated. Right. Kirk orders the ship to go to red alert and for Lurie to be notified. Lurie, however, discounts a possible attack as the Klingon's ship captain, Koloth, and First Officer Korax are sitting in his office. Kirk orders the red alert canceled. All right. Kirk beams over with Spock, and the Klingons assert their rights to shore leave under the terms of the Orangian Treaty. Kirk reluctantly accedes but sets limits of 12 at a time, with one guard from the Enterprise for each Klingon soldier. In the recreation room aboard the Enterprise, Uhura's Tribble gives birth to a litter. The sounds the Tribbles make seem to have a soothing effect on humans. Dr. McCoy takes one of the offspring to study it. Meanwhile, Kirk argues with Barris about the adequacy of the security Kirk is providing, until Kirk claims he is getting a headache. Going to sickbay for treatment, Kirk sees McCoy's Tribble has also produced a litter. McCoy reports that almost 50% of their metabolism is geared towards reproduction. Kirk tells crew members beaming over to shore leave on K7 to avoid trouble with the Klingons. Montgomery Scott declines shore leave, but Kirk, concerned for him getting too wrapped up in his technical journals, orders him to keep an eye on the others and enjoy himself. At the bar aboard K7, Jones tries to sell more Tribbles. The Enterprise crew aren't interested, and the Tribbles and the Klingons react to one another with loud hostility. The bartender is uninterested in more Tribbles either. The one he acquired earlier is already multiplying. Korak starts insulting the Enterprise crew, first by comparing humans to Regulan bloodworms. Which, wait, what is it? I want to know what Regulan bloodworm is, because they say it like I was supposed to know what it is, but I didn't. So I'm clicking on it.
It was a creature native to Regulus II, a planet in the Alpha Leonis system, described as soft and shapeless. It is a leech of sorts, it looks like, and it's real gross.
The picture of it, it looks like a fishing lure.
It does look like a fishing lure.
It's like one of those like little gummy fishing lures. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Except a little more bloody. Yeah, it's gross.
And it's just speckled red and nasty. He then tries to provoke Chekhov by repeatedly insulting Kirk, but Scott restrains Chekhov. Korax then turns his attention to Scott by insulting the Enterprise itself. First calling it a garbage scow, then just garbage, provoking Scott to punch Korax in the face and start a brawl between the two groups. The barman retreats, and Jones dispenses himself some drinks in his absence. Security officers from the Enterprise arrest the brawlers and restore order, and shore leave for both ships is canceled.
This is such a fun, like
it's a great fight scene. Yeah. It's classic early Hollywood fight scene. I love it.
It's very early Star Trek. It feels very like, on the one, like, for one thing, it's, this Klingon guy is just very clearly trying to start a fight, and he's just hurling
he's
random
basically
insults.
just like a string of your mom jokes, but like at like it's really all it is.
Yeah, I love that Scott is like, he's so like restrained the whole time until the ship starts getting insulted, and he's like,
right.
How dare you?
Right.
His one true love, the Enterprise.
First, humanity as a species is nothing but worms. Your captain sucks. Oh, by the way, your ship's a piece of crap too. It's a hunk of junk. And you're like, what? Yeah,
I can accept you insulting my captain and my species, but how dare you insult my station wagon? Can't take it. Yeah, and then this fight scene is so just over the top and fun. It's the kind of fight scene, like early Hollywood fight scene where it's just like big exaggerated punches, people like tumbling over backwards over tables, and like big exaggerated moves.
And all the way, Cyrano Cargo Shorts Jones is like just serving himself shots from behind the bar,
just walking around grabbing drinks, and
yeah, classic. Yep. It's perfect. 10 out of 10, no notes. It's awesome. I love it.
Yes, excellent.
Anyway, Kirk interrogates the crew involved in the brawl, but none are forthcoming about who started it. Kirk orders that they are all confined to quarters until he determines who started the brawl. After Kirk dismisses his officers, Scott confesses to Kirk in private that he started the fight after Korax insulted them, recalling some of the more colorful examples. Kirk presses further and is perplexed to find that Scott didn't start fighting until Korax insulted the Enterprise, but realizes it was due to an engineer's sensitivities. Kirk restricts Scott to his quarters, to which Scott happily complies, anticipating time off to catch up on his journals.
My favorite nerd. Scotty.
Yeah. What a nerd! Anyway, in sickbay, Spock and McCoy have a characteristic debate on the aesthetics and utility of Tribbles. Spock, in particular, notes to McCoy that their one redeeming characteristic, they do not talk too much. The question soon attracts Kirk's attention. There are Tribbles all over the bridge, including one in his chair. McCoy reports this is because they are born pregnant, and they are swamping the ship in their rampant reproduction. Kirk orders Uhura to call for Jones to be detained on K7 and to get these Tribbles off the bridge.
I love this episode reminded me of how like funny Spock is. Like how,
yes.
Obviously he's Vulcan, so he's very, dry and serious, but like he's so sassy in his own way. I love it. I love all the times when he's like, and Leonard Nimoy's just kind of little like looks, just like the single like raise of an eyebrow, and he's able to do so much with so little, and he's such a fun character.
It's wonderful. It's so good. I love it so much. All right. On K7, Spock berates Jones for removing Tribbles from their natural predators and letting them overbreed. Jones counters with excuses and insults that, at 6 credits each, they're making him money. Then, Barris confronts Kirk on the insufficient security detail for the quadrigetic alien. Barris claims Jones is quite probably a Klingon agent, but Kirk is unconvinced by the evidence and finds that Jones has done no worse than disrupt activities on K7, which is not unprecedented. Sometimes all they need is a title, Mr. Barris, Kirk pointedly concludes, and he and Spock return to the Enterprise. Back on board, the Tribble problem has worsened. Kirk can't even get a meal as Tribbles have gotten into the food synthesizers. Scott reports that the Tribbles are circulating through the Enterprise's ventilation ducts and ending up in machinery and all throughout the ship. Spock points out that there are comparable ducts aboard K7 that lead to grain storage tanks. Realizing the implication, Kirk orders all the Tribbles removed from the Enterprise and rushes to K7, getting access to one of the storage compartments. But when he opens an overhead door, an avalanche of Tribbles buries him. Which this is just a great, like, visual just like
comedy
all these little cotton balls just like pouring out. Although I did, in watching the episode, I've seen this episode like gotta be at least a dozen times because it's like one of Dad's favorites.
Mm-hmm.
But like I never caught the fact that Spock was pointing out that they went through the vents and that's how they got into the grain. I was like, how did they know that it was in there? Mm-hmm. Like, other than like the obvious, like, of course it's in there, but like how? The vents. That I just reading this just now, I realized I've in the dozen times I've watched this, I missed that. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. Kirk finally climbs out from the pile of Tribbles. A population Spock estimates at 1,771,561, and Spock discovers that they are gorged on the grain. Barris claims Kirk's orders have turned the project into a disaster, and that he will call for a Starfleet Board of Inquiry against Kirk. But Spock and McCoy notice that many of the Tribbles in the pile are dead or dying. Kirk orders McCoy to find out why they died, though McCoy protests that he doesn't yet know what keeps them alive. Kirk assembles all the principals in Lurie's office. Koloth demands that Kirk issue an official apology to Klingon High Command, though Barris says that would give the Klingons the wedge they need to claim Sherman's planet. Koloth also asks the Tribbles be removed from the room. The guards do so, but as they pass Darwin, at which point the Tribbles shriek just as they did around the Klingons. With his medical tricorder, McCoy reveals Darwin to be a Klingon. He poisoned the grain with a virus that prevents its victim from absorbing nutrients, which is how the Tribbles died. They starved to death. In a storage compartment full of grain, they starved to death, Kirk summarized. Darwin is arrested, the Klingons are ordered out of Federation territory within the next 6 hours, and Kirk says he could learn to like Tribbles.
It's interesting that the Tribbles are just, like, racist.
They are!
The way that they figure things out is that Tribbles are racist.
Yeah. Racism against Klingons. Man, I always just kind of assumed that like that Tribbles could just pick up on vibes, and the only vibe that Klingons give off is "I want to kill you."
Yeah. To be fair, the Tribbles being racist against Klingons is, that's not a unique characteristic in the original Star Trek.
Yeah, most people are racist against Klingons in all of Star Trek, no matter how like far into the future you get, how advanced the civilization is. Everyone kind of just hates the Klingons. Yeah,
I mean, at least like I did notice, like, coming back to this after having watched like the Next Generation and stuff. Aside from how different the Klingons look in this, which I think there is like a canon explanation for that at one point.
There is. I forget what it is though.
Yeah, but like it is fascinating to me how much the Klingons in the original series just feel very much like racial stereotypes. Like, it feels like just kind of weird and gross. It's like they're humans, but they look kind of evil, and they speak with an accent, and it's like, okay, this is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, right. Because they're kind of just like, I don't know, vaguely Middle Eastern-ish. I don't know.
Yeah, they have darker skin, and that's a little... Yeah. Yeah,
and their accent is like kind of Russian, but not Russian, but like...
Yeah, I get the feeling that it's like, they're almost supposed to be like space Soviets, because it's the 60s.
Yeah. It's the 60s. So. Even though Chekhov is like, Russia's the best. Well, Russia.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Weird, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, so in K7's bar, Kirk and Spock then give Jones a choice. 20 years in the rehabilitation colony for transporting a harmful species, or pick up every Tribble in the station, which Spock calculates would take 17.9 years. Jones accepts the latter. Back aboard the Enterprise, Kirk is happy to find the ship has been swept clean of Tribbles, and asks Spock, McCoy, and Scott how they did it. They all deflect Kirk's questions until Scott reluctantly replies that before the Klingons went into warp, he beamed all of them into their engine room where there'll be no Tribble at all. The crew shares a good long laugh at this. The end.
I love
that's the best.
End, yeah,
it's the best ending to like anything ever.
Yeah, they end on a pun, and then the whole crew is just like standing there laughing, like ha 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 ha. It's very cheesy and very like it feels very original series Star Trek. It's great.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
It's excellent. I love a good pun, and I love the fact that they warped. They beamed all of the Tribbles onto the Klingon ship. Man, how loud must it have been on that ship as soon as those things were there? Like, yeesh.
Yeah, just
screeching constantly.
I want to know how they got rid of all the Tribbles. Like, what do they do?
Oh, maybe they just beamed them into space, or maybe they just killed them all. Or
probably both.
Yeah, I mean, beaming them into space would kill them, presumably. So, anyway.
Yes.
Yep. Also, when they're like, they give Cyrano Jones a choice between going to jail for 20 years or picking up every Tribble on the station, which Spock calculates would take 17.9 years. How is that really? Is the station that big? Like,
I think it's just the rate they're multiplying. Probably like... Yeah.
I guess assuming they're still multiplying, yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
That sounds awful. I mean...
It does.
I almost would rather go to the rehabilitation colony than spend 17 years picking things up on one location.
Lock me up. I will... 3 square meals a day. Yeah, done. I'm out of here.
I would take a flamethrower to them all. I would just...
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, they're an invasive species, and they're like Tribbles.
Just lawnmower.
Oh god, that's worse. That's worse. just blood and fur everywhere. Oh no.
Oh no.
Gosh. Well, that was fun. Then what an iconic, fun, silly episode. So great. I love it. There's so many like funny moments in this, and one thing because it's been a while since we've watched an original series episode, I like forgot some of the weird acting mannerisms that William Shatner has, where he'll just like repeat something. He'll just like say a thing and then immediately say it again. It's like it was so funny. It's so silly and it's great. I love it. Yeah, I feel like the shot of like Kirk sitting in the giant pile of Tribbles, that's an iconic shot to me. Like that image has been burned in my head since I was little, and we watched it for the first time.
Yeah, we had to have been in like kindergarten or something when we watched that for the first time.
Because I remember like growing up, Dad had like a couple of DVDs that was like the best of Star Trek, the original series, and it was like 6 episodes or something, and one of them was the Tribbles episode.
And this was like, I think the only one we ever watched on that was this one.
Yeah, it was mainly just this.
I think he bought like a multi DVD thing just to watch this episode,
the Tribbles episode. Yeah. In pre-streaming times,
at least at the rate that we watched it at versus any. I don't remember it. I mean, it was that one and the the Henry Mudd episode, which I think is the next one chronologically. We'll see next week. But
nice.
I'm curious now.
Yeah. All right, Sam. What was your favorite part of this episode?
Oh gosh, there's so many good parts. I think my favorite have to be the end of the episode with like the
no Tribble at all.
Yeah, no Tribble at all. That it just the whole thing feels like one long setup for that joke, and it's worth it. It's worth every second.
It's excellent.
Yeah. I also just Cyrano Jones is such a character.
What a guy. What a weirdo. Love him.
Yeah. So goofy. Like he feels like he'd be straight out of like a early 2000s Nickelodeon sitcom. Like
he does feel there is something weirdly like I guess Star Trek-y about early Nickelodeon or early Nickelodeon about Star Trek, where it's like everything is sort of just silly and over the top, and there are like just such like over the top characters, and I get what you mean. There's a similar vibe there. Yeah.
What about you? What was your favorite part of the episode?
Man, this is such a fun episode. I feel like my favorite like character in this episode has been Spock, just because of all of his little quips and little sassy moments and how just like fun he is. I feel like every time he says something, it's like it's just it lightens the episode for how like stoic he is. He's just, I don't know, he has the proper level of sass and like self-awareness and he's just clever. So I liked the there's that scene where he's talking to Bones, and they're like trying to figure out like what the deal is with these Tribbles, and and Spock is like, one thing I do like about Tribbles is they don't talk very much. It's just
iconic.
Yeah, incredible. There's also under the memorable quotes section on the Star Trek wiki for this episode, there's a conversation between Chekhov and Spock. Chekhov says, they're talking about how far away something is, and they say, 1 parsec, sir, close enough to smell them. Spock says, that is illogical, Lesson. Odors cannot travel through the vacuum of space. Chekhov says, I was making a little joke, sir, and Spock says, extremely little, ensign. Love it. My gosh. Anyway, so I guess not one moment, but just anytime Spock was saying things, I appreciate Spock.
Yes.
MVP, which character deserves recognition for being particularly awesome this episode? What do you think,
Cyrano Jones. Cyrano
Jones, he's such a fun character. He's the worst. Just for like, he's not great. He's kind of a slimy like
he's a snake
con man salesman. Yeah. But like he's
in terms of like interesting characters to watch, like he's hilarious.
He's delightful.
You can't not watch him.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. And then I would say runner up for MVP would be that one racist Tribble that figured out that guy was a Klingon.
Yes.
Rest in peace, little Tribble. I assume you're dead.
Yep.
Right. There were no main character kills. I don't think there were nobody like.
If you don't count Tribbles.
Yeah, lots of dead Tribbles, but that's it.
Yeah.
More Star Trek is better Star Trek. How does this episode make the movies and the rest of Star Trek better, Sam? The movies and the television shows and the comics and the books and whatever else.
Good question. I think that we kind of get like a glimpse into like Kirk's pragmatism and just kind of like how he's just his like get stuff done, no BS kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Meet like, especially like when we get the priority 1 alert from the bureaucrat in chief who's like, you gotta protect my grain, man. Like, I need everybody to protect my grain. Like, and Kirk's just done. So I think just like, he takes none of it. Yeah. So, definitely that. That's what I think. What about you?
Yeah, agreed. I like that. I like the I mean, I guess the other thing would be that it introduces Cyrano Jones and the Tribbles. Like, you know, both of those come back later, and of course the Tribbles themselves become an iconic element of Star Trek from
of course,
in future series as well. Like that, you know, they're just like, it's part of the DNA of Star Trek at this point. So
yeah, because
it's a cool.
Aren't there like other episodes that like they're like time traveling bits that like come back?
Yes,
we like come back to this episode, right?
Yeah, I believe there's an episode of Deep Space Nine where they come back to this specific episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like insert the actors into footage from this episode and everything. It's like,
that was really cool. That's right. Yeah. I remember that now. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this is a fun episode. This was good. You can't go wrong with a Tribble.
You really can't. It's no trouble at all.
No trouble at all. I think that's the name of our episode. The content. No trouble at all.
I love it.
Well, there'll be no trouble at all.
No trouble at all. We have some voicemails, but they're about Star Wars, so I don't know why.
That's weird.
It's weird. Maybe I'll listen to them next week. I don't know.
We'll get back to them.
Yeah. This is Star Trek. Why are you calling us about Star Wars? I don't understand. It's weird.
Yeah, weird. It's people. They don't. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, any closing thoughts?
I've had fun talking to you. I feel like I've been tired today. Like I've had a good week, but like yesterday I was out all day with friends. Like I went on basically took a day trip with some friends to Marble Falls, where we went to went to a bunch of antique stores, basically antique and thrift stores. So that was fun. We went there and then we came home and then hung out at my friend's apartment where we watched both Sonic movies, because
as one does.
Yeah, because all of my other friends that I was with, none of them had seen either of them, and so somebody brought up the idea, what if we watched the Sonic movie? And then we watched the first one, and then they were like, let's watch the second one right now. So we double featured it back to back. So that was fun.
Beautiful.
But I had like not gotten quite enough sleep the night before, and then I was up until 2 a.m. watching Sonic. And so then I was like, I slept a lot last night, which was good, but I'm still like, you know, a little kind of sleepy today and sluggish. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, my enthusiasm isn't as high as I would like it to be for a podcast, but you know what? It doesn't matter because I got to hang out with my brother Sam and talk about Tribbles.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Love that. Quick question, Jack. When is this episode supposed to air?
April 1st, April Fool's Day.
Oh, April Fool's, everybody. We did it. We did it.
What? This is a ruse?
Got him!
What are you talking about?
Got him!
I know you guys were convinced that we had just gaslit you this whole time. This was actually a Star Trek podcast this whole time, and you had forgotten about it. But no, April Fools, everybody, we did it.
You're fools!
You idiots!
You are April Fools! You fell for one of the classic blunders.
One of the classic blunders. Never deal with Sicilian when a death is on the line, or whatever it is he says. That's approximately what he says.
Close enough. Anyway. Get the point across. You fools!
We have been looking forward to doing this episode for months, since like I feel like in the fall maybe we were like, oh, we could do an April Fool's episode.
I think it was the summer.
This is like almost a year ago at this point. We were like, oh, we could do we were talking about like what special episodes we could do. We talked about like doing the Star Wars Holiday Special for our Christmas special episode. And another idea we had that came up was doing an April Fool's Day episode. And we're like, what would we do for an April Fool's Day episode? And then I don't remember who had the idea, but it was like, as soon as we were like, oh, we could do Star Trek. That seems like a perfect idea.
Yep.
I love that. Yeah.
But now we've done this joke, so we can never do it again.
Nope. Definitely not. Nope. We definitely won't do this again next year and watch another Tribbles episode. That's definitely not what's going to happen.
No, we would never. We would never do that.
All right. Live long and prosper, everybody. Happy April Fool's Day. Don't get fooled.
Don't buy Tribbles.
Don't get fooled again, as the Who would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, cut the chatter.
You fool!